Okay, welcome to part two. Now we're going to work on literal notes and a strategy called selective scripting. So remembering that with literal note taking, we're trying to write down words and actions from the teacher and students, and you can also include things about the appearance of the classroom. So I heard this quote recently, and I think that this is a challenge that many of us face with writing literal notes and observing. So the idea is the ability to observe without evaluating is the highest form of intelligence. And I love this quote because it reminds me that what our brains do is we make judgments. And so when we're sitting in a class, we see something and it's difficult to just write that down without making a judgment about it. But the more we can try to just write down literally what we see, the more fair our observation will be, and also the more that we will be open to seeing. Because what researchers have found is that once we make a judgment, we then can end up seeing things in a different way because we're trying to confirm that judgment. But if instead we can observe with an open mind and try not to evaluate while we're observing, then we can be more open to seeing things that might even contradict what we initially thought. So this is a great article that I would love for you to read called Best Practices for Low Inference Notes. And then we have an Ed puzzle question that asks, what is a new idea you learned from this text? I especially love some of the parts where they give some ideas about how, when you're observing, you can look for the impact on students. So, what can we see in a classroom that'll really show us what the impact on students is? Okay, now we are going to talk about a strategy called selective scripting. And lots of participants like this strategy, although it can also be challenging. So, selective scripting lets you record selective observation data that is specific to an identified area of focus. So, you can use selective scripting to focus on anything that you or the teacher choose to focus on. So, it could be when you're implementing a new program or strategy. You could be concerned or curious about a rubric element. You could be asked to look for something by the teacher. You could be focusing on a specific student or a subgroup of students. Or it could be related to an area of improvement that you're targeting with the teacher. So I'd love to hear your ideas about this. As an observer, how might you use selective scripting in one of your classroom observations? And then second, when you're being observed, what would you want your observer to zoom in and focus on through selective scripting? Okay, so now we're going to practice this with a video of Ms. Barr. And we're going to practice scripting for a rubric element called Clear Expectations. So it would be great for you to review that rubric element and then prepare to watch the video. So as always, you can write literal notes on paper or you can type them. If you type them, you'll need to set the video up in part of the screen and then have your note-taking document in another part of the screen. And you'll need to click into our slide deck to watch this video. So I hope you enjoyed Ms. Barr's class. We'd love for you to use your literal notes to write 2 CSIs. You can try writing more if you have time. Now, you don't need to submit these, but please bring a hard copy to our next class, and you'll be giving one another feedback on these during our last class. So we'd love to hear some of your reflections in Edpuzzle. What did you enjoy about selective scripting, and what was challenging?